Hey, Jason Rogers, and in this video I want to talk to you about how it's so important to be excited and passionate about buying a business, and yet simultaneously how you have to keep yourself unemotional to the whole process. And it's a difficult thing for me to articulate or explain because it's a feeling we're talking about, right? But firstly, I can say tactically and specifically that when you find a great business, letting that owner of that business that's potentially willing to sell that business to you, letting that owner know how excited you are about the potential to buy that business goes a long way. I'm a huge believer that when you find a seller who has a great business, you let that business owner know how infatuated, how in love you are with their business and how much you would like to buy it. Now, you may be thinking, Jason, why would you want to tell the seller how much you love their business? Isn't that reducing your leverage? And that's a fair criticism. However, I would say to you that just because you love their business doesn't mean you need to overpay for it. In fact, you can say, look, I love your business so much that I refuse to overpay for it because I don't want to have a problem after I buy it and not be able to make the payments, or otherwise I don't want to fall out of love with this business because I overpaid for it. Right? So you can actually work in the justification for why you refuse to overpay for the business through your love of the business. I love this business so much that I wouldn't want to overpay for it because that would make me fall out of love with the business, right? So you always have a way of making sure that you don't overpay for an asset. At the end of the day, it's your right to just walk away from any deal whatsoever. So never overpay for a business. But that all notwithstanding, I've found definitively, especially in competitive environments where a great business is for sale and there may be other buyers sniffing around, right? So there's a great business and there's a seller and you want to buy, and maybe there's other buyers. We're engaged in those types of environments more and more than I ever used to be. And what I would say is being really open and frank about how much you're interested in the business. It goes a long way towards motivating the seller to want to work with you, because look, a business is equivalent to a business owner's son or child. It's like you give birth to a business. And for some of these business owners that have been running this thing for 10 or 20 years especially, they are in love with their businesses. It's like it's their baby. And when you tell the business owner, man, I love this thing, it really connects with them on a deep emotional level. I've seen this, and it's not something to fake, it's not something to fraud, it's something to do authentically and legitimately, but it's something not to be shy about. I think sometimes as men in particular, perhaps you're a man watching this, it's almost the cool thing to act, neutral or ambivalent or take it or leave it, I don't really care. And what I would say is, as it relates to buying businesses and connecting with sellers, that's never worked well for me. I always get passionate, enthusiastic, and excited about how much I would be interested in buying the business. Now, that all said, let's talk about the other end of the continuum, which is staying non-emotional as it relates to buying businesses. And when I say non-emotional, what I mean is you ultimately make the right decisions from a place of rationale and logic. I've been talking about this a lot lately because I see a lot of cowboys out there looking to buy businesses who are just shooting from the hip, if you will. And sometimes when you shoot from the hip, you hit the target. Other times when you shoot from the hip, you have a friendly fire. And I don't want you guys to be shooting your hand off because you didn't know how to pull the trigger correctly and you didn't know how to aim the pistol. So at the end of the day, what I would say to you is, never let your excitement, your enthusiasm, or your exuberance to do deals or to buy a business get in the way of doing the right deal. Because most of you watching this channel, let's just be frank, you probably don't have 6 or 7 figures of liquidity, right? So if you buy a bad business, you're gonna fast track your way to nothing but bankruptcy, very bluntly. And obviously that's not what you want. So what that means is you can never allow yourself to get overexcited to do a deal. And this is this conversation we've been having a lot lately. And how do you blend these opposite ends of the continuum, right? Because I started this video just a couple of minutes ago telling you how you're wanting to be excited about buying a great business and how you're wanting to be a person that shows that enthusiasm for the seller, and how that can often create a common bond between the buyer and the seller of that seller of a great business feeling excited to pass along this wonderful business to you, the new buyer, right? So you share that enthusiasm for running the business and owning the business and buying the business, and I'd love to do business, right? You're excited about it all. But then simultaneously now it's like, well, Jason, now but you're telling me that I shouldn't be emotional about this process, and that I need to be able to walk away at any time, and I need to be some, Bill Belichick, cold-hearted, ruthless competitor type. And it's a difficult thing to equivocate, right? But there almost needs to be two sides of you, and not like you're like a two-faced jokester, but you allow yourself to get excited in the minute about the opportunity of what this could be, but you don't let that exuberance actually lead your ultimate decision making, right? Does that make sense? It's like you allow yourself to get taken up in the moment, but you never pull the trigger in that moment, right? You allow yourself to feel the excitement of what it could be if you were to buy this business, and it would be so great to run this business and own this business and to have a beautiful transition between seller to buyer and all these things. Yet simultaneously, you would never allow yourself to actually make a bad deal happen. And so that's a difficult thing to handle. It's a difficult thing to blend together, right? It's oil and vinegar, but you think of bread. When you go to a nice Italian restaurant, you have the oil and the vinegar. And do you know what? That bread, especially when they bring that bread out hot and they put it on the table for the appetizer or whatnot, it tastes that much better when you have the oil and the vinegar, right? It's better with the oil and the vinegar. And that's really what I'm telling you here is the best business deals, in my opinion, come from owners who have great businesses, who are excited about the fact that you're excited to run their business. They feel that enthusiasm you have to be the new owner, right? That's the oil. Yet there's also that vinegar, that sourness, if you will, that doesn't get pushed around. And I was actually on a phone call just the other day with the seller's representative. And I let him know. I said, look, we're extremely excited about buying this business. This is a legitimate business opportunity I'm talking to you about right now. I let this individual know, look, we're extremely excited about buying this business. We know it's a great business. Everything suggests this is a truly great business. We can't wait to do this thing. Yet equally, let it be known, we do have limitations. And we refuse to overpay because by definition, we know that's not something we can do, and it's not something that will make us successful, nor will it make this business successful in the future. So while as excited as we are about buying this business, that's all true. We're extremely enthusiastic about doing this deal. Yet equally, we have to do it on the right basis. Not to say we wouldn't pay fair market value, because I'm a big believer. I'd rather buy a great business at a good price than a good business at a great price, right? I'm not price shopping. I'm quality shopping. That's me. I've made videos talking about how when I'm starting an investment group right now, we're starting Brighter Utilities. That was Brighter Plumbing. We've slightly morphed it to Brighter Utilities now because we're looking at, yes, a plumbing company, but also another company that does heating, air, plumbing, electricity. Thus, Brighter Plumbing turned to Brighter Utilities. But all that notwithstanding, we know that we can't do a bad deal. Even if it's a great business. You can do a bad deal buying a great company. If I buy a great company at 20 times earnings, I failed. Even if it's the best company of all times. Because 20 times earnings, that's publicly traded level stuff. That's just too much. You don't buy small cap companies at 20 times earnings ever, right? So you can buy a great company in a way that's terrible, that will lead to your demise. And so you have to stay rational, even through all the enthusiasm and the excitement. And it's that enthusiasm that really can lead to deals getting done. When you're quicker to reply, you're quicker to call, you follow up more frequently, you show your enthusiasm, you get on a plane, you show up, not right now during this virus, of course, but normally speaking, you get on a plane or you drive or you do whatever you need to do, and you're just there, you're on it, you're a hungry dog chasing after a bone, you're all over it. And that enthusiasm will get you a long way. I call it young man's energy. Young man's energy actually has me filming this video at 1:24 a.m. on a Sunday morning, right? Young man's energy gets stuff done. Yet don't let young man's energy, and you can be a woman too. This is just a turn of phrase here, right? It's not about being a man or a woman. Right? Call it young person's energy. Don't let young person's enthusiasm get in the way of sound decision making. Right? And for us starting Brighter Utilities right now, we know that as we make our first several acquisitions, that if we buy one bad company in our initial phase, that we're screwed. You buy one bad company when you're trying to build a proper foundation and you mess up everything. Look, once you have 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 15, 20 companies under management, or 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 different properties under management, then if you bring in a lemon, whoops, it hurts us a little bit. but you can weather it, right? It's not the end of the world. You buy a carton of 12 eggs, one of them's cracked, no big thing. I still have 11 eggs, right? But if you have one egg and that one egg cracks, you just lost 100% of your egg investment. There will be no omelets today, right? And that's what it's like for us when we make our first several acquisitions. Like I've talked about recently, when you start an investment group, you have zero margin of error. You can't afford to screw up. So that means it's even more important for you to buy great companies at or below basis. And by at or below basis, I mean at or below fair market value. Now again, I personally believe, similar to Warren Buffett, that I'd rather own a great company, even at a good price or even just a neutral price, than a good company or an average company at a great price. I'm not shopping at the 99-cent store. Because I know you've shopped at the 99-cent store and you've got that cheap stuff made in China that breaks, right? You've bought those $5 glasses where the lens pops out or the frame cracks within the first 2 days, right? That's not the kind of stuff you want to buy, especially when it comes to buying a business where you're signing on the dotted line, potentially, right? So buy the right business, buy it at the right basis, but don't be afraid to be enthusiastic about doing the deal, making all the calls in the freaking world, following up, doing everything you can, being excited, being aggressive, being assertive, being enthusiastic, and yet simultaneously, don't ever let that enthusiasm cloud your decision-making judgment. That's the punchline, and it's a fine line, but you have to be able to walk it successfully.